Hey, let me talk to you like someone who's actually lived with the QN80F every day, because once you feel what this TV does for your games, movies, and everyday shows, everything weaker feels like something you once settled for instead of something you deserve. This isn't for someone who shrugs at motion blur or washed out colors. This is for the person who notices when contrast finally feels alive, when every fast scene stays smooth instead of smearing, and when audio doesn't just sit behind the picture but feels present with it. Before anything else, take a moment and check the current price and availability. TVs this capable don't always stay easy to get once people start paying attention. You know that moment, you sit down for a big game or movie and something just doesn't look right. Fast motion blurs. Highlights wash out under bright light. Shadows collapse into gray instead of holding detail. That's the point where you realize you've outgrown compromise. You're done with almost good enough, and let's hope it looks better. You want presence every time you turn it on. Then you power up this set, and the relief is instant. The picture doesn't just look sharp, it feels intentional. Mini LED with Quantum HDR gives you contrast that's deeper, richer, and more detailed than you're used to. Bright peaks stay bright without wiping out colors, darks hold nuance instead of fading into mush, and motion stays fluid thanks to the high refresh and Vision AI smoothing. That's not specs on paper. That's presence you feel each time you sit down. Picture this, you're watching your favorite sports match, every frame stays crisp and readable, the play moves fast and the screen stays with you instead of trailing behind. Later, you start a movie and suddenly the director's vision shows up with shadows that matter and scenery that feels layered instead of flat. Even everyday streaming feels richer because the picture doesn't collapse under bright highlights or struggle through darker scenes. That's the difference between just watching and being in the scene. Once you've lived with that level of clarity and motion control, anything less starts to feel like an unnecessary compromise you shouldn't go back to. Every time you even think about settling for something weaker, your mind drifts back to how connected and alive this feels. That's loss aversion. You don't want to give that up now that you've felt it. While that impression is fresh, check stock again. TVs with this blend of panel performance and smart ecosystem don't always stay easy to get when demand rises. If you're hesitating because it sounds premium, let's reframe that thought. This isn't about flash, it's about clarity and confidence. It's about watching content the way creators intended, with contrast that resonates and motion that keeps pace with every scene. Here's something most people don't expect until they live with it. Once you've experienced smarter upscaling and motion handling together, even older content looks better than you remember. That's the kind of shift that sticks with you long after the initial setup. You feel contrast that stays meaningful. You enjoy motion that stays fluid. You get color depth that feels intentional. You own a display that matches your expectations. You experience visuals that pull you in. Downsides? It's not tiny, and it isn't the least expensive screen on the shelf. Those are simply the trade-offs for a viewing experience that feels right every time. At some point, the endless comparison loop just stops. You already feel what experience satisfies you most. You choose what feels right, not what's uncertain. So don't let this upgrade sit in your head and turn into a wish I did sooner. Decide with confidence, check current availability now, and bring home the immersive clarity your instincts have been telling you to get.